Hey, hello, everybody. Live from Denver. It is Friday night. Yep, excellent. Make sure our sound and everything is all good. Technically, we have arrived. Hey, critics. Welcome to our holiday special edition of Critical Conversations. As always, I am joined by my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Hello.
Hey, baby.
Hey. How you doing?
Well, this has been quite the week, quite the month, quite the year, huh? We're wrapping up here. Gosh, so many things to say, where to even begin. I should begin actually. I put this up on the YouTube channel, but just a little announcement thingy here at the very beginning is this is the last show of the year. We're not. There's 2 more weeks in the year, but that's Christmas and New Year's Eves on the next 2 Fridays. And so we didn't want to put you guys out, and we didn't want to get put out, and so this is our last, our holiday special.
We got people to see, things to do.
Yeah, stuff like that, and lives to lead, all that kind of nonsense, stuff and nonsense. Anyway, yeah. So this has been. I don't know about you guys. There's been a little bit of stress this year. This is the second year in a row that we're potentially. I don't know. Do we want to get into that?
What?
The family thing?
Yeah. We can do that.
Yeah.
We don't have to name names. We can just say.
No, we just it's the pandemic time of
our lives.
Our lives, exactly. So so there's potential problems there, and that's not fun. And
one of my family members tested positive for COVID. She has got mild symptoms so far, but she was also around a couple of my other family members the other day, so they have to go get tested now. And if everybody's getting COVID, nobody's doing Christmas.
Basically, or we will put it off or something is probably what will happen, is we'll move it forward or something. Yeah. So anyway, just the usual stress of everything. And then of course, supply chain issues and inflation issues and this, that, and the
expensive.
Other thing. Yeah, exactly. And I actually, I need to rant a little bit about something. Okay, I'm only going to say this once. I'm not going to go on a whole tear here. But today I was very upset to find that about a third, a whole chunk of my video library, going all the way back to the very first videos I put up, had been marked by a YouTube algorithm as limited ads, which means they still make some money, but they don't get as recommended or suggested as often as the videos that have full ad okay. Now, you guys know my content. You know I'm not some, militant Nazi scumbag. I'm trying to educate people and help people out. But profanity or talk about generalized whatever the YouTube guidelines in this are very unclear. And so when you try to educate on topics or get into serious stuff that actually matters, you're entering territory that they find controversial, and so they limit the number of ads or who can put ads on your videos. And so when this hit, a good chunk of my videos, it took me a full 45 minutes today to go through and have to take each individual one and request a human look at that video and tell me what the hell's wrong with it. And like I said, this is going all the way back to the very first videos I put up. So I had to go, back through everything. And the thing that I really resent about that, of course, is that there's no notice. There's no email. There's nothing telling you that has happened to your work. You just have to find it on your own in the video manager. And the recourse process is one go. You can try to request. Often that deals with it, but I got all kinds of videos that have been marked for that.
A lot.
Already, too, in the past, right, that are already gone through a human review, and they went, yep, nope, not going to do it, and no real explanation why. And this is not just, the salacious sex stuff that I've gotten into now and again in terms of content where we talk about sexual abuse or child stuff. I get that. That makes sense to me as to why there would be limited ads on content like that.
The Q&As and us.
Yeah,
right?
but almost every show we've done of this show has been put on that.
Which makes no sense. We don't really, maybe we've talked about some stuff, but not a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just, so I'm just ranting
It's
right
not like
now.
we're
and
Howard Stern in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. It's just annoying. It's a source of annoyance for me. I have to admit, it's probably a little triggering from the cult crap. Because when I get those, I have to say, actually, I probably should have led with this, that I am fully aware of the fact that I have a job that is actually kind of awesome, and that I get to live my dream right now in terms of educating and helping and being on video and being a personality and all that crap. And I get that. I really do. So I don't want to at all, negate that or make anybody think that's, I'm like some privileged person, yelling about my privilege. But unfairness is unfairness. And if you were at your job to suddenly get a pay cut and nobody tells you,
Yeah.
until you get your check and you go, what the hell's this? And they go, yeah, you violated some rules. And what rules? Well, we'll get around to telling you at some point. Here's a generalized list of all the rules that we have here. You figure it out, right? That's the process. And if that would not infuriate you, then you are a better person than I am, because that infuriates me. And that's what happened there. So anyway, that is that. I'm not going to, like I said, I only wanted to go on that for a tear for a second just to kind of get it off my chest. And now we can move on. And no, I don't know that there's anything anybody can do about it, except, of course, support the channel and like and share and push my videos and my content out there. I tell you guys all the time, I also want you to do that with Mike and Leah's podcast, with Tony's blog, with Aaron's channel, with Karen, with all those other guys too. I'm this isn't just about me, but in this particular case, it is. So that's my rant about that. Okay. But that is one reason why there's a little bit more stress with the holiday season too, is because, YouTube is literally cutting my income line. It's not just the reach of my work. It's also my income.
Right.
So that gets a little,
We like paying our bills.
Yeah, we do. So, okay. Like I said, not going to go on any more of a tear than that. Just wanted to get that out there. Okay. So, yeah, exactly. Okay, you had something you wanted to go over.
Yeah, none of you seem to have noticed so far, so it's probably not even a big deal, but I went to the ER the other day, and when they were giving me a blood draw, I got a little bruise from a blown vein.
Yeah, that was a fun experience too.
Yeah.
She's fine. It was,
I'm fine.
It's all good. Normal thing. Nothing unusual happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching that guy do that and you
Oh,
being
and
in
it
pain.
hurt too when he put the needle in, and I was like, "This isn't right."
No, he was definitely not getting it done right, and it was. I know a lot of people have stories like this. This is more common than it should be. What I found difficult about the process is I'm sitting there with her, and this is being done to her, and I can't do anything, and I felt a little weird. Having some guy hurt you and I had to stand there and not do anything. That was a little hard. Anyway, okay, so she's healing up.
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Yeah. Good times, huh? All right. So we got to tell you guys about this. This was incredible. Okay.
It's hilarious.
It really was.
Kind of moving too. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually was. I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. So let me tell you about this show we went to last night. We went with a couple friends here in town, and it was put on at not an independent, like a city-sponsored theater.
Community theater, yeah.
Community theater,
Community sponsored by the city, I think, or something, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, the Aurora Fox is what it's called, the Aurora Fox Art Center. And let me give you guys a little background on this show that we went and saw, because I actually have history with this show. It's a Scientology based. It's a parody. It's a satire of Scientology, while also informing on the abuses of Scientology. And it's a musical, and the entire production is kids.
Yeah, like tweens and teens.
Yeah, that's who's actually on stage. There's choreography. They do dance numbers. There's a music. There's, obviously there's a director and choreographer, but the cast is all kids. And the show is called A Very Merry Unauthorized Children's Scientology Pageant. That's the full name of the show. It was written by a guy named Kyle Jarrow, and this was actually written years ago. Now, this guy who wrote it won an Obie for his writing of this production, and it was originally produced and put on in Hollywood, out in Los Angeles, and we would see every year around Christmas time, we would see posters around for this show when I was in the Sea Org. Every year, I saw it advertised in the local magazines or like the Voice or whatever, the weekly
news
rags,
whatever,
right?
Yeah.
And I saw posters around for it and stuff like that. And I always, as a Scientologist and a Sea Org member, you know what's official and what's not, especially when it's in the title that it's unauthorized. And you're like, and it was always some kid in this angelic outfit singing some song with a picture of L. Ron Hubbard in the background. And I was always like, well, these fucking jerks, what the hell, right? Probably got limited ads right now just because of that, right? Anyway, so I would always grit my teeth about this, about how upsetting this was that they were making fun of Scientology. And yes, David, this is actually very similar to if there was a Book of Mormon for Scientology. Yeah. This is as close as they've come so far. I would pay almost anything to go see a Trey and Matt version of...
Oh, that would be amazing.
Book of Scientology, right?
It's funny enough when they made fun of it on South Park,
Yeah, that would be amazing. But in this production, the kids walk you through it, and they actually go through the entire history. I mean, I really am impressed by this production. They packed a lot of information into an hour musical. Yeah. And hearing it come out of the mouths of kids was a little bizarre, actually. It was a little strange to me to watch. I don't know, how old were these guys? I mean,
I would say the youngest was maybe 10 or 11. Like, they were all tweens and teens,
Yeah, and the guy, I mean, the person who played Hubbard was the oldest.
Yeah, and he was probably like 15, 16 or something.
Yeah, something like that, right? So somewhere in that age group is what we're talking about. And to watch, 10 and 12-year-olds singing about Xenu it was a little weird. But also so they quote from L. Ron Hubbard's works extensively throughout the thing. So they're giving it to you straight from Hubbard. And they walk you through the history of Dianetics and the science of the mind, and then Scientology. They bring out they have a mock-up of an e-meter that they brought out, and they show you how that works. They kind of explain it in the Scientology sense, and then they immediately show you how goofy it is. Mm-hmm. For the Sea Org. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that, Gurrora. That's a good question. And by the way, Gurrora, if I don't manage to get to that question, there are 2 videos on my channel that have holidays and Christmas in them. Look those up, and I go into that topic extensively in those videos. Okay, so then there's all these songs, and the songs we have the program here, so I'll just walk you guys through it a little bit. And only because I don't know that you're ever going to get a chance to see this. It's real community theater kind of stuff. It was based out of Los Angeles. A guy who was here, an artist here, I think the director, I think Stephen Burge is the guy who directed this thing here in town. I think he saw it out in LA and was like, oh, I want to bring that here. And that's how it got here. Mm-hmm. I believe that's the story of it. So the songs are, Hey, It's a Happy Day. They're always singing about happy days. Mm-hmm. A recognizable but entirely unauthorized instrumental piece. Another recognizable, entirely unauthorized instrumental piece. Then there is a song called The Science of the Mind.
That one's good.
Yeah, The Science of the Mind was a fun one. It's a Happy Day. Then there was a song called Rain. And then there's a Scientology mega mix at the end. And they played, I could not believe this. When we first sat down before the show even started, they were playing Scientology music. Like the music that the church has actually produced. And there was a song playing, and I kept I was like, what is that song? I have heard that. And I didn't recognize it at first. I was like, where have I heard that song? And enough of the lyrics got through that it was like, oh my God, that is a Scientology song they're playing. And there's Scientology symbolism. They had a Christmas tree out in the lobby that had Christmas ornaments with Tom Cruise's face, John Travolta, Elizabeth Moss, a bunch of other Scientologists. And the best thing was I should have prepared it to throw it on the screen. I took a picture and sent it to Leah. Because there was a poster.
Oh, yeah.
right when you walk in the door, there was a poster with a picture of Nicole Kidman and Leah Remini, and it said "Wanted Suppressive Persons." And anyway, I just thought that was very, very, very funny. So I took a picture of that and I sent it off to Leah. I don't know if she's ever even heard of this show, so I told her a little bit about it. And she thought that was hilarious. So anyway, that's kind of the dish on the show, at least that much of it. They get into the Sea Org. I don't know if they mentioned the billion-year contract.
No, I don't think they did.
No, it's mostly focused on the subject of Scientology. And they went all into...
Hubbard's history, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, the whole history and the whole Xenu story. They cover it extensively. In fact...
that was great.
They brought a girl out hanging from a hook. And she was playing Xenu. And
she had these things. She had these sticks, and they had these like little black, spooky, ghost-looking things on them, and they were spinning around, and those were the Thetans.
They actually had a physical representation of all the body Thetans. It was amazing. So if it does come to your town, or you happen to hear about this show, or you make it out to Hollywood and you can see this thing, or of course here in town. I think today's the last day. No, we got 2 more days that it's running here in town. Totally non-paid promotion. Nobody's paying me to talk about this show. I just wanted to share it with you guys because I thought this was just awesome. So I hope you guys will get a chance to see stuff like this. I would love to see a lot more of this. I'm a little surprised that they are somehow not sued out of existence. I'm not sure how copyright fair play works outside of YouTube.
I mean, they're just telling a story about someone who existed, so they're not really...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Know? I don't know how much they can get away with trying to suppress that at this point. But this show's been running for years. So I'm pretty sure, I didn't even think about this, but I'll bet the local org, I bet Denver, the church here is just going fit to be tied right now over this show playing. I am sure they probably tried to stop it. I should actually,
maybe that's why Trey and Matt haven't done it, is they're terrified of Scientology doing something to them. I don't know. You don't think so? Okay.
No.
All right.
No, not after South Park.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't think I think they laugh at Scientology. I do. And I think that's an appropriate reaction from them, you know. Okay. Now, of course, guys, this is a call-in show, and the call-in lines are open. So if you want to call in and talk to us about holidays, about if you have any questions about the show or anything else, of course, happy to talk about whatever you guys would like to discuss. Call-in line is 984-214-4154, as you can see on the screen there. And yeah, nothing is off limits for South Park. That's for damn sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Christmas events, Gurur. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. That's right. At Celebrity Center every year, Scientology celebs show up and do Christmas skits and songs and performances at Celebrity Center. They do little Christmas shows. I have seen those. They are on video. You can look them up online. And those are just little, you know, kind of off-the-cuff productions that they do every year to celebrate Christmas. People ask us all the time about Scientology or secular Christmas, I guess, is a topic that comes up around this time of year. You know, why do atheists, you know, celebrate Christmas? Excuse me.
Because we like presents too.
Yeah, exactly. And Scientologists do too, right? And remember, of course, most Scientologists were raised in, unless they're second-gen members like me, you know, a lot of Scientologists were raised in religious households, and they conform to the culture around them. And believe it or not, Scientology actually thinks that they're doing a decent job. Scientologists actually think they're doing all right at blending in with society. and not, putting on a public image that's, that's warm, friendly, and compassionate. So yeah, so that's what's up with those Celebrity Center vignettes that you saw, Gurroar. Oh yeah, you've been to Casa Bonita.
I've been to Casa Bonita several times. When I was a kid, I went a few times, and then as an adult, I went back, and it was like, okay, Black Bart's Cave isn't as scary as it was when I was a kid. But I'm really glad that Trey and Matt purchased it. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. There was a article recently published locally here about from the chef, or the person they hired to be the chef, and talking about how they were going to have a better class of food. Fingers crossed on that one. I really hope they're not. I hope they keep.
It's not hard to make the food better than it was. I mean, even if you just served average Mexican food there, it would still be better than what it was.
Yeah, if they bought Swanson TV dinners and popped them in the oven or the microwave, they'd be better than what they were serving before. It was horrifying. Hey, Steph, thanks for dropping in here. And I am seeing some of you other critics in the comments here. You guys are awesome, of course. So anyway, hey, Steph, glad you're here. We just got finished talking about the Scientology, unauthorized Scientology children's pageant. So hope you catch that on the replay. Okay. So again, call in line 984-214-4154. And something else I wanted to bring up, because I always like to try to get across something fun and interesting and exciting and educational in my content, is just a little reminder about that little thing I mentioned a few weeks ago. People make themselves stupid in order to hold on to a belief, not the other way around. You don't have to be stupid to adopt an oddball belief. All of us have our moments of weakness, of gullibility, of ignorance, of conceit, et cetera, as to reasons why we might buy into nonsense. Any of us can do it.
Yeah.
Even you.
And you.
And you. And you. And you. And you. And you. I should hold up a little romper room. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm so dating myself. So instead of asking, how can somebody be so stupid as to believe that? Instead, you might ask yourself a much more fruitful question, which is, what is it that this person's holding on to that is keeping them stupid? Why is that belief paramount to them? Why is that so important to them? And the answer to that question will lead you to more things that I think might be more interesting and exciting.
Oh, hey, hun.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
There are no Casa Bonitas anywhere else.
No, that's right. No, there's
only one.
There can be only one. Yeah, that is absolutely the case. There is no chance whatsoever that we want to have more than one Casa Bonita. Actually, I guess they could franchise. But
yeah, I mean, maybe if they do a really cool thing with it, yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Oh my gosh, Copenhagen! It's 2:25 a.m. out there.
Holy cow!
Wow, Merry Christmas, Dorte. I think that's how you say that.
Sure.
Yeah. Cartman loves Casa Bonita. Yeah, I actually skipped to the Casa Bonita episode when I first started catching up on South Park, because I had heard about that. At first, I did the Scientology one.
Oh yeah.
Then I did the Casa Bonita one. Those were the two. Then I did the rest of the series. But yeah, call-in lines are open. So yep, looks like we are open on that. I have never purchased anything from a TV ad.
I don't know if I have. I don't think so. I know I used to do like that CD thing back in the 90s, or you would order, you'd pay a certain amount a month and then you could order a certain amount of CDs a month or something.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Columbia House.
Yeah, remember those? You could order. I was ordering cassettes off of those, and then it went to CDs, right?
God, I got so many stupid CDs that I didn't even like off that.
Yes. CD of the month.
Yeah.
They just send it to you and charge you for it. And then you had to ship it back if you didn't want it. That's right. Oh my gosh, that's funny. By the way, I got a chance this week to the podcast this week is with Jen Kiaba again. And we had another nice, good, chunky conversation. And it actually started with the second. God, how do I put this? I don't want to get down on people too much because I really don't think that there are too many really stupid questions. I really don't. But it does get a little annoying for us sometimes, us cult survivors, and I know this is true also for domestic violence survivors, that, you know, when you get asked questions like, well, why didn't you just leave? Right? Why didn't you just leave?
Because it's not that easy.
Seems, you know, you could just walk out. What's the problem? Right? And it's usually said like that. Right?
Well, yeah, and it's like they always say that with people that are in, like you said, domestic violence situations, and it's like, I think I heard that leaving an abuser is the most likely time that they'll kill you.
It can definitely happen that way. You know?
And if they're threatening you all the time, if you leave me, I'll kill you. Yeah, you're not going to, you know this guy's dangerous, so you're not going to leave.
Well, that is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Now, there's also, and this is what we talked about a little bit in the podcast, is that a question like that, of course, indicates a lack of knowledge or an ignorance of something called trauma bonding. Mm-hmm. And here's something we can talk about for a second, because this is actually something I really kind of like to talk about because it really sheds some light on the cult experience and on domestic violence survivors as well. And it's not obvious. This is, I mean, people kind of know this, but it kind of has to be said out loud to really get the point home on it, which is that it's not all bad.
Right.
You know, we talk about...
Oh, abusers can be super charming.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can stay that way for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's intermittent, you see. The cycle of abuse doesn't start on day one with beating on you.
Yeah, it's like you date for a little while, and then he or she does a little thing, and you're like, I don't know if that's abusive or not.
Well, exactly. It actually does build up like that. And what happens is your defenses are worn down over time, and it's the boiling frog phenomena. But what's not normally stressed by us survivors is that there were lots and lots of times that we were having the time of our life there. That we thought this was the most amazing, magnificent, loving, caring, fantastic group of people who were just helping and loving the hell out of us, and everything was wonderful. And it couldn't have been better in our minds, right? And it's this kind of this juxtaposition, this back and forth of the abuse and the good parts, the love, the wonder, the awe. That's the glue that holds you there. If it was just abuse, anybody would leave. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, kind of like gambling in Vegas, scientifically speaking, just to throw some science at you for a second, when it comes to the pleasure chemicals in your brain firing off, the ratio is 50%. Of good to bad, of wins to loses. If you're at about 50% chance of winning, that's the optimum place for you to keep you there the longest. If you win 75% of the time, you'll quit earlier with your winnings. If you only win 25% of the time, then you'll quit off earlier because you'll get dejected. But 50%, somewhere in there, kind of keeps people hovering on this thing and stuck to it. And that's how gambling works. And that's kind of how this back and forth of this cycle of abuse and the pleasure work too. And this is I'm kind of simplifying some things, but that's your, kind of trauma bonding. It's bonding. You're bonded to the person. This is attachment theory. This is like how we have relationships with people. So it's fascinating stuff, but it's also not super obvious to people that when we're sitting here as cult survivors, talking about abuse after abuse after abuse after abuse, you might get the idea wrongly, and that's kind of on us too, that it's nothing but abuse. And then you get questions like that, and you kind of go, oh, yeah, no, it's, no, there were other things going on too. So actually, between both of these things, it's between the pleasure parts and the good stuff and what you said, the fear of leaving.
Yeah.
Fear of physical violence if you leave, fear of
stalking, harassment, going after your family, going after your work, that kind of thing.
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that, as well as loss of social circles and standing, loss of income, right? There's economic finance concerns. If there's kids involved.
Oh, yeah.
Now the kids are up for, debate as to who's going to get them. So lots and lots of reasons why people don't just walk away. And Guru, I did see your question there about cult hopping, and we can jump onto that in a second. But first, we're going to take this call. Hello, is this Henny?
Hi. It is, Chris. How are you? Hello, good evening.
Good evening, and happy holidays.
Hello, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. The same to you. There's so much that you got into, and I want to just touch briefly. Yeah, your show is great. It is great.
Thank you.
I have to say, I so enjoy it. Really, really. I want to stick just with the trauma bit. Trauma bonding, if I can, right now. But also, I wanted to mention about the holidays and. Look, I'm so sorry that someone in your family, Melissa, got COVID, and I hope that they recover fast and that you can all be together. And if not, then I hope that the two of you can enjoy some quality time together, And I wanted to say that first. And then, okay, there's so many things. The South Park, I got to watch that episode because, of course, I'm behind 100 years, right?
Right.
Unbelievable. I will get to that. The show that you mentioned, I would love for it to come to New York. Oh. I really would, because I would go in a minute.
Yeah, I think it'd be a hit. Yeah. I think it'd be a hit out there.
I really think so as well.
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah. Okay, because we have that big, empty Scientological cult right there on 125th Street. Okay,
exactly.
So yeah, it would go over good, I think, Anyway, with the trauma bonding, look at me, 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to be fast because I know how it is. With the trauma bonding, you explained that beautifully. Both of you hit that right on the head, because that's exactly what it is. When you go into it, it starts out as a love bombing thing, and it can last a long time. But very, very quickly, I think, they're able to train you and train your brain into invalidating you, making you think it's your fault.
Yes.
Saying
yes.
I mean, there is so much that psychological screwing. I hope they don't mess around with that, okay?
Yep.
Because I'm saying that, but it's the truth. It's such
That's right.
And, thank you, Chris. You see, I covered that too. It's it's really hard, and it's not easy. And like you said, there's violence often involved.
Yeah.
There's total annihilation of another person.
That's right.
And they are also involved in the trauma bonding, and there's fear and love, and those two things are so opposite each other, I believe, but very nested in the cult perspective. You know what I mean? It's a love abuse type of relationship. They say the love-hate relationship. I call it the love abuse type of relationship.
That's a great way of putting it, because in many, many ways it is about, I love you, so I have to abuse you.
Mm-hmm.
I only abuse you because I love you. I mean, it's just crazy how that goes.
It is. And, I don't want to plug anybody else, but there is a doctor online who does that kind of thing. It totally explains what trauma bonding is and the invalidation and all the levels of it. And it's horrible,
Yeah.
but how to try to get yourself out of that. It's not easy to get out of that. And it's almost impossible if your point of origin is where that started from. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
your parents were the ones, yes, Melissa, who indoctrinated you. Your life is just, it's a mess.
Big
and
time.
your mind is a mess. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Well, 'cause
I'm
it- 'cause
glad
it-
you touched on it.
Yeah, and here's the thing with the kids, I think, and let me know what you think about this, because I think exactly what you just said, and I think one way of explaining that or why that is such a bad thing for kids is because they're raised in an environment if they have abusive parents, where that becomes normalized. Like that's how it's supposed
Yes, that
to
is
be.
normalized. Yes, Chris.
Because that's why they carry it on further in life, I mean, it's not 100%. It's not everybody who gets abused is going to abuse others. You can
Right.
break that cycle. You don't have to engage in that. Scientific studies have shown us that it's not necessarily a great
100%.
100% predictor,
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's probably a
Right.
good idea to not beat on your kid or show him abusive situations, because there's enough chance that it's going to really screw him up,
Exactly. And that's why I find that show so interesting also, that it was done with children. That you saw.
That's what blew me away.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect much. Honestly, we went there and I thought,
Yes.
I'd heard of the show. I had the backstory on the show. I was very curious about it, but I thought, well, this is kids. I mean, what are they going to get into? And they got into all of it. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I bet it was. That's why I would love to have seen that. That's priceless. Because then it goes to adulthood.
Yeah.
Because what are you? You're a product of what you are.
Exactly.
I mean, and then you have to retrain your brain. You have to learn how to think critically. You have to learn life from the beginning.
That's right.
Can you imagine how hard that must be?
Yeah, I can imagine
that. Must be hard. Yeah, so can I, unfortunately. I'm patting myself on the back. And I'm patting you too. Anyway, I love you guys. I want to go back to listening. And
Awesome.
Your show is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Up the great work.
Thanks, Henny.
All
Thanks for
right,
calling
guys.
in.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Okay, go.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Awesome. Always love it when Henny calls in. She is awesome. Look what you made me do.
Yeah.
No one else will love you the way I do. They won't tolerate your flaws like I do.
You.
Ooh, right? Ooh. Ooh. Okay, yeah, big time ooh. All right, 984-214-4154 is the number. Yeah, Love Bomb told everything that bad was happening was my fault. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Hey, just newsflash. Not everything's your fault.
Yeah.
Anybody who's
That's
watching
impossible.
this. Yeah, everything's not your fault.
Because if it's all our own fault, then it's everybody's fault. Right? Because we're all at fault.
Nah. She's pretty smart that way. Hey, something I thought may be kind of fun that I've been putting off for a long time. Yeah, I know that was creepy, right? I know. Thanks. Let me answer this. Let me take this question up that Guru asked about earlier about cult hopping. By the way, since we're here and talking about this, the only statistical number I've had associated with this that came out of like one study was 75% of people who come out of a cult situation have, there's a 75% chance they will hop into another one or go back to the one that they came from. Those two outcomes, I guess, total that. That seems too high to me. And when I've talked to other professionals about this, they said the same thing. It's really only based on one study. I haven't looked up the literature to see what else is out there. That all being said, cult hopping is a problem. And it comes, I believe, from my own, limited knowledge of this. I believe it comes from, a failure to understand the full scope and situation that the person was involved in, insecurity, a lack of, I think I analogized at one time to kind of like if you imagine when you leave the group that you are ejected or you fly out, you like take off, right? But your feet have great big huge rubber bands attached to them. Mm-hmm. And the other end of that rubber band is back in that cult, right? That you just ejected out of, and you took off, man, you're going. But that rubber band is stretching out. And the only way I know to cut that thing is education, therapy, and changing up your situation. And that can be really, really hard for some people. It can be really easy for some others, and everything in between. You're going to find the full range of experience with this. I mean, mine was not really, all things being equal and looking at other people's survivor stories, my escape story was pretty easy compared to what a lot of people had to go through to get the hell out of their situation. The recovery process, on the other hand, is, getting out is one thing, but then recovering is another. And that cycle has a lot to do with education, I think, because that's what, for me, cuts those cords, cuts those rubber bands, and lets you keep flying out. Otherwise, social ties, responsibilities and obligations, ignorance of the situation will drag you back down into that situation. And that's never good, And yes, I did recover people back into Scientology. That's part of the process. These cults have a cult recovery process too. There's retention techniques, and when those retention techniques don't fly and the person actually does succeed in getting away, then you have to go and bring them back. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Depends on how good the person who's doing that work is. I had a pretty good ratio. We have a call coming in, so I'm checking it out here. I had a pretty good ratio, actually. I was pretty good on recovery, and it had to do with the way I got them back was I put them right back in the headspace. I had a whole different framing for what I was doing. I thought I was doing something very different than that. But the way I can look at it now is that's basically what I was doing, is I was trying to get them right back into when they first came in. What were their hopes and dreams? What were their desires? What did they want to accomplish? And that's getting right back to that day one euphoria of, I have found an answer. I have found a solution to my problems. And that's a very euphoric experience for people getting into cults. So if you can get that back and get them back in that headspace, they're yours again. And that's what I specialized in doing for a while. Let's take this call. Hello, you are on.
Hi.
Hi.
So I don't have anything to say about Scientology Christmas.
No problem. Whatever you want to talk about.
The cult hopping.
Yeah.
The cult hopping really hit me because so I was in what I consider an online cult, and I did not realize that until way later. But people would often be like, I just want to let people know that I no longer consider myself, XYZ. If you feel like you need to unfollow me, that's fine. Okay, bye.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would lead to them joining a different faction, I guess, like the Scientology, the independent ones.
Sure, go from one to, yeah.
Yeah, because you just need to adjust certain things.
Yep.
And then you're like, yeah, this is the real thing.
Yep.
And then I don't know that we ever really got anyone back, but we would often just repeat our mantras and loaded language, obviously, to keep the people who were still on our side being like, oh my God, they're so dumb. This is what we're doing. How did you forget all of that?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, the in grouping. You have to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just said we felt really smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to other that person real fast. If they're gone, they have to be kind of gone forever, kind of thing, as far as the group goes.
Absolutely.
Otherwise you start losing other people.
Yeah, there was one person who was essentially a leader in my group who defected, and she had been so awful on our side that the other side was like, "We don't want you."
Yeah, there you
Go
go.
away.
That happens too.
You're
Yeah.
too awful. Like, we've
Yep.
seen your behavior.
Yep.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, we have that in the ex-Scientology world too. There's a couple people like that who they've just burned every bridge they've ever had. They're just not welcome anywhere. That happens. Yeah, that happens. It's interesting, isn't it, watching this stuff across? I find it interesting now, from my perspective now. I find it interesting to see how group to group to group, the behavior is the same or very, very similar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the X world, in the X communities, like the online Facebook pages or groups that people form and stuff and start talking about it, you see the same stuff happen, good and bad, in both places. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Just commenting. But did you have anything else on cult hopping you wanted to cover that I suppressed or stopped somehow?
No, that was it. I was just like, oh my God, I actually have something to contribute. Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling in. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
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 Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Cool. Okay. Yeah, it was a fun call. Just catching up on the comments here. Yes. Talking about leaving religion and stuff.
Yeah, and Amway.
And Amway. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's actually, thanks for mentioning that, because MLMs are not at all different from this.
Nope.
I mean, Hayhun knows about that. I mean, it's just, it's exactly the same. So people could leave an MLM, realize it was a scam, but silo that to, it was that group that was bad, not the general concept of MLM that's bad. Or they could get suckered into another form of MLM that maybe presents itself in a different way, so they don't recognize it as that. And that's where that education part is so important, because then you do see the man behind the curtain more easily. That's what education gives you, and there really isn't any substitute for it. I wish there was. I wish there was a pill you could take, or a therapy session you could have, or glasses you could put on, or, some key words.
This. Yeah.
Yeah, some words you could listen for or something. But it's not that simple. I mean, the techniques of manipulation and control are complicated, and they're that way on purpose, because they have to be to fool us. Even dumb people are very smart. I mean, they really can work out a lot of stuff. And it's interesting, actually, just to note that the higher the intelligence you have, in a lot of ways, the more susceptible you are to getting sucked in or back in. Because it's somehow smart people, one, think that they're smarter than they are, and two, so you have Dunning-Kruger, and two, they are more easily able to come up with rationalizations or justifications for why this group is actually okay, or should be stuck with, or they should stick around, or whatever. They're actually able to come up with more reasons, whereas, people who don't have that faculty kind of give up faster and just go, you know what, this is actually just kind of bullshit, and they just walk out. I saw that happen so many times over the years in Scientology. People just, I just don't think that's right, and off they go.
Yeah.
And you go, no, don't you understand? It's this and this, hey, let me get this dictionary, and we're gonna look up these words, and we're gonna make sure you understand all this and this. So, and the guy's just like,
nope.
You know what, I'm not interested. No, just go away, get out of my face, leave me alone, hang up. That kind of thing. So, oh gosh, yes, Gurroar, the David Miscavige meetings. Yeah, we can talk about that real fast. Okay, so David Miscavige apparently went to the. There's a new city manager. His name is John Jennings out in. I think it's John or Jim Jennings out in Clearwater. They just hired this guy, and so he's setting up shop there and getting to run Clearwater with him and the city council. That's how. If you watch my shows with Aaron, he kind of breaks down how the city council works and what that's all about. So Miscavige has come back to the city council and apparently did some 3-hour briefing to the city manager. And I think maybe the city council was involved in that in some fashion. I don't remember exactly who got that briefing, but apparently John Jennings now is naively saying, yes, we need to work in partnership with the Church of Scientology. And he's just going down the same well-trod, well-worn path that every other city manager in Clearwater over the last many decades has gone down, where Scientology just leads them by the nose, as to where they want them to go. It is a naivete. It is an ignorance, sometimes willful maybe, other times misguided. You want to assume the best about people. I have that. I want to assume the best about people. Jennings says he's looked at the history of the church, that he understands it.
Yeah, but also David Miscavige has a lot of money, so who knows?
Well, there is
always... rich people always seem to get more access to politicians anyway, so...
Well, there is that. Now, somebody like a David Miscavige in a town like Clearwater is definitely going to have... very immediate access to those officials, because they're going to be interested in what he has to say.
And that isn't right.
Well, is it true enough? And yet, if we take the Scientology out of it for just a second, and I be totally as objective as I know how to be on this topic, Scientology represents a pretty substantial land ownership of Clearwater.
That's true.
And that's actually one of the reasons why they need to be watching and listening very carefully to what he is saying, but not with, again, this is Sagan-like. I mean, it's just not with such an open mind that their brains fall out. And I think that's the problem with this new city manager, at least as he's representing himself right now. Based on the reporting that I've seen, I am completely unimpressed. And I don't know exactly what it would look like. I'm not a city manager. I'm not a city council member, and I don't live in Clearwater. So I don't know what to tell you it should look like as far as what the city council or what the city manager should be doing. That being said, I know what they shouldn't be doing, and that is putting out public statements after meeting with Miscavige for 3 hours, talking about how they have to work in partnership with the Church of Scientology to move forward on plans with downtown's renovations. No, that's not the right step. Whatever else you're doing, that ain't the right thing to do. So that's... and of course, as Henny mentions here, they shouldn't be able to monopolize that much real estate. And that is the thing that the city manager and the city council should be a hell of a lot more interested in, is how did these guys acquire that much property without anybody knowing? Why did they do it all under false names and using front groups and Scientologists to front for them? What the hell is going on here? What is this? Are you people literally on some plan to buy all the property downtown? Is that the plan? Because personally, I think that's what the plan is. I think Miscavige's plan is to just keep buying properties until he owns it all. He's got nothing but time on his hands when it comes to Clearwater, and the city council, and other than Mark Bunker and hopefully Aaron, and the city managers have thus far just been completely willing to play footsies with them. There's no pushback against Scientology by that local government that I can tell. Certainly nothing substantial. So, Miscavige is counting on that to continue. And so what does he do? He acts like he wants to be friends. He plays nice, but he wants what he wants. And he's never stopped wanting what he wants. He wants that property right next to the Fort Harrison, I guess. And that's Miscavige's play, and he's going to keep playing these guys as long as they're willing to be played. And that's kind of how I see that situation. I mean, it sounds a little harsh or whatever, but I've really kind of lost my patience with these bureaucrats in Clearwater over the Scientology issue. It has been made clear as day in a modern context, not going back to the Clearwater City Council hearings of the 1980s. We don't have to go back to Nibs and Paulette Cooper telling the city council back then how bad Scientology is. We're right now we know how bad Scientology is, and we're telling them. And and not just us, the population of Clearwater is telling them. That's why they elected Mark Bunker. That's why Aaron Smith Levin is probably going to get into office in this next year, is because the citizens of Clearwater are instantly responsive when you say, I want to deal with this Scientology problem. So, that's what I got on that. Yeah, maybe you could build a Casa Bonita. If David Miscavige opened a Casa Bonita in Clearwater and manned it with Sea Org members, Scientology would become so popular in that town.
Oh my God, right?
God, that's a horrible thing to think about, but it's actually true. I mean, that would do more to raise their reputational value there. I mean, it would not at all be enough. But there are people who would buy into that and give Miscavige an attaboy if he were to do something like that. So I wouldn't be, but there are people who would. Okay. Yeah, the Vatican. There is that. I don't really think of the Vatican as a cult the same way, but that's a tough one. I'm always on a little bit of a tightrope when I talk about the Catholics and the Catholic Church, because there's some really abusive crap that has gone on in that group, and it is a hard case to make that it's not got a lot of elements of destructive cultness connected with it. Oh wow, look at the time.
Yeah.
We better wrap up. All right, we're going to start wrapping up. Did we cover everything before?
I think so.
Quote?
Oh, yeah, quote. All right, let's see. Life could only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Kierkegaard.
Huh.
Yeah.
Kierkegaard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's that? Okay, that's a Joker game card thingy. Okay, so this, guys, is our deck. I'm having trouble today for some reason shuffling this thing. But this is our deck of logical fallacies and cognitive biases. Our critical thinking deck of these cards. And every week, we read one.
Oh, I think we did that one before.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see.
Too soon.
Begging the question.
There we go. Okay, good. Yes, your fallacy is begging the question. A circular argument in which the conclusion is included in the premise. And if that's Greek to you, let me give you an example. The word of Zorba the Greek the word of Zorba the Great is flawless and perfect. We know this because it says so in the great and infallible book of Zorbo's best and most truest things that are definitely true and should not be ever questioned. The book that he wrote, right? So that's what proves that he is what he claims he is his claim. Circular logic. So that is called begging the question. And yes, that is a fallacy that we see in a lot of religious circles every week. So, common fallacy?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, this was a fun show to do this week. Thank you very much for those of you who participated.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for those super chats. I don't know that I mentioned them while we were going because I got into what I was saying, but thank you very much, everybody who is super chatting us and supporting the show. Supporting me through Patreon, of course. That is the best Christmas present you could give this year for us, is that kind of support. Otherwise, please love, share, spread the good word of our channel and show, because we want more viewers and we want to get more people on our page here of, hey, let's fight the cults, not be part of them. Okay, so there we go, guys. And with that, I think we are done.
Good night.